Yeah. Shalom. Shalom. If it's okay with y'all, I would just like to drown out some static. I just want to counsel out some negativity. Yeah. Shalom to the Shabbatah, to the tribe. I just needed to vibrate one time and, cancel out the frequency. That's okay with y'all. You know what I mean? For everybody that vibe with me in these moments. Much ahab. And yes, we are back with another one. Oh man. Can't wait to get into it. We're gonna get into it. You just have to cancel out some unwanted frequencies. You know what I mean? Cause y'all like to voice your opinions a lot. But nonetheless, much ahab to the Shabbatah, much ahab to the family, much love to everyone subscribed and viewing. And we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Let go. Alright, so we just got rid of the hijack. And in doing so, I just wanted to point out this image we're looking at, right? Because this lesson happens to be a lecture, and as we dive into the topic, as you can obviously tell by clicking on it, we're gonna be touching on the mound builders, right? But I want you to see what they say. It says, no subject more fascinating than the study of the lost race. The lost race. The lost race of the Ohio, Mississippi valleys. The people who have a wonderful remains, who have left wonderful remains, sorry. Alright, so, yeah, of course, whenever we talk about this topic, right, whenever we're dealing with the autochthon, right, which is you, it's always considered to be the mystery, right? Something that's lost, right? Something that had just vanished and up and just poof. You know what I'm saying? And just wanted to, have that set in your mental. And as we get acquainted once again, I was just like to say, it's been a good minute since we've been, with each other. And I do apologize for the absence and, just not being in contact, especially with those that have reached out, I just been, wow, I just been on this journey, and, not to say that that's an excuse of any sort, but sometimes things hit you out of left field and leaves you a little short for words. And everything's, good, as you can tell. I'm trying to do my best getting back to it. Nonetheless, though, life, it's life, and life is always interesting. So, yeah, much ahab for everybody that's reached out. And, as soon as this, wrap up is through, we get done with this lesson, this lecture here, this drop, I'm gonna get back in the emails, and I'm gonna get back to the messages, and all across all the platforms, get back to all of you guys and everyone that's reached out. Much ahab, much ahab. Truly from the heart, it feels good to be with you guys one more time. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into it like that, and just want to make sure you guys are aware. So let's go. Alright, so I wanted to bring us to the word hypothesis, right? I just wanted to, have you guys look at it. Of course, you can see it. I'm going to go ahead and go over it in a bit. But I just want to let this sit in the mental because I want to inspire critical thinking this time around. All right, it's been a long time, you know, to me it's felt like a long time, and yeah, I just want to, you know, hit it this time around with a different you know, perspective, but in the sense to where I just highlight what always stands out to me in my usual fashion. We're not gonna really switch it up because there's nothing to really switch up. But yeah, I just want you guys to see this, right? Hypothesis, which is a supposition or a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. All right? A supposition or a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. An explanation made on the basis of limited evidence, right? And I know how y'all feel, so we're gonna keep it to a minimum. So on the basis of limited evidence, that's little to no evidence, or basically, you know, you just have the slimmest idea, and from that idea you want to go ahead and expound and expand, and you want to gain more, right? That's why they go into further investigation. So hypothesis is basically an idea more so than something that's true. Of course, right? A hypothesis. It's in the word, right? When we look at it. All right. So I just wanted to highlight that and, you know, have that set in the mental one time. Let that be absorbed as, you know, we go ahead and continue. And we carry on to the next one, which is theory. All right, we're dealing with theory and hypothesis, right? Hypothesis and theory. Interchangeably, both being the same, right? Much aloha to everybody, you know, that's, you know, viewing. It's just, it feels real good to be amongst the tribe again, Shabbat. So, you know, we have theory, a supposition, once again, or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. All right. A system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. So we're dealing with just, like I said previously, an idea or a group of ideas to go ahead to support a leading theory, right? A speculation. You come up with some form of thought, and you want to go ahead and see if this is proof, or if it can be proven, I mean, and if it's true. But the evidence, the actual proof that you're looking for is really thin. It's really slim. You don't really have much to work with. Okay, and scientists tend to operate that way. They'll take the little bit of evidence that they do have, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, and they'll work their way outwardly from that. And this is basically what we're diving into. So I just want this to set in your mind, because we're not dealing with any truth, right? We're not dealing with anything concrete, anything completely evident. We're just going based off an agreement. See, these scholars, these academics, right? The academia, mainstream, the secular pushed curriculum is in, you know, agreement that they're going to take these things and basically agree to uphold them. And it's in this agreement that we see that basically everyone that agrees to this theory, to, you know, this hypothesis, which they call history, which is basically the explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation for them. You know, we just see that basically, in theory, this is what they uphold over you, right? Over us, over we. You know what I'm saying? And as we go ahead and delve into this topic, you'll understand and you'll gain more clarity. Alright? So, I just want you guys to go ahead and keep this in mind. We're going to go ahead and continue. Alright, so, we had some, just some, you know, background noise. I just got my people doing what it is that they do while I'm talking to you. So, never mind the background noise, you know what I'm saying? Never mind what you hear about in the back. You know, just dig on the message as, you know, we continue to drop it. And, I just want to go ahead and continue. And, you know, as I go ahead and press forward, we just gonna go ahead and deal with the chronology, with the numbers, with the timelines that, you know, is just proposed on Wikipedia to basically, you know, paint and pick at the holes that are provided. Alright, so I'm not gonna basically say anything that's not said within here. And I just want to point out some things as I go through these different tabs. Alright, so let's get to it. Now it says that Native Americans, right, also known as American Indians, Indigenous Americans, and other terms, are the indigenous peoples of the United States except Hawaii. There are over 500 federally recognized tribes within the U.S., about half of which are associated with Indian reservations. Alright, so yeah, like I said, when we're dealing with this so-called theory, right, with this hypothesis, there's going to be an agreement. And like I said, those who take an agreement seem to find their way in this thing they call history, and they sit in a pocket or a timeline that's established and basically carved out just specifically and especially for them. So this comes as a shocker to you because you've been left out the loop, right? I mean, they label you all kinds of sorts of names, right? But like the scripts say, right, our scripts say that you will be a byword and astonishment upon these people, right? So this comes to no surprise. And, you know, we'll go ahead and continue to break this down as we, you know, progress. But I just want to go ahead and highlight that, right? Because this is what they say. So they say that there are over 500 federally recognized tribes within the U.S., right? Half of which are associated with Indian reservations. It says that the ancestors of modern Native Americans arrived in what is now the United States at least 15,000 years ago, probably much earlier, from Asia via Beringia, alright, aka the Bering Strait. Alright, so they say that this ice landmass connected from, you already know what they're saying is Asia, Siberia, basically, you know, and they migrated, or, you know, as Dane, you know, Calloway put it in, you know, his video, immigrated, right? And that's not to cause controversy, it's just, you know, to stick to the play of words, right? We're talking about from two different continents, Asia and America, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then go ahead and catch that and go ahead and peep that so you can gain a better understanding. But basically, that's exactly the point that I'm poking at right here. Is the fact that, they're saying about at least 15,000 years ago, this immigration took place. And the fact that it was through this landmass of ice that they call Beringia, which really was frozen tundra, is astonishing, because it's like, in what case would a group of people, a so-called race of people, need to make such a journey for? And when I was pondering that very question myself, it was obvious to me when I really think about these lands they called America, right? And I'm like, oh snap. I'm really digging on in the bigger picture as I go ahead and dive into it, that this ice landmass was really the result of a cataclysm, right? But, most would call it the flood. I'm going to stick with the term deluge, or the deluge, right? And, based off that cataclysm, along with many others, ice age went into effect. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and touch on, on this topic. I just want to highlight it that, they're saying that the ancestors of the modern Native American arrived through, 15,000 years ago via Beringia from Asia. All right, through this ice cap. So we're gonna go ahead and continue. Let's get it. Alright, so here we have down in the history section of the same tab, right? The history tab, I guess, of this page, says that for the settlement of the Americas. Now it says that it is not definitely known how or when the Native Americans first settled the Americas in the present day United States. The prevailing theory, proposes that people migrated from Eurasia across Beringia, a land bridge that connected Siberia to present-day Alaska during the Ice Age, and then spread southward throughout the Americas over subsequent generations. Alright, it says genetic evidence suggests at least 3 waves of migrants arrived from Asia, with the first occurring at least 15,000 years ago. These migrations may have begun as early as 30,000 years ago and continued through to about 10,000 years ago, when the land bridge became submerged by rising sea level caused by the ending of the last glacial period, or basically when the earth got hot again. Right? Because this ice sheet is not natural. And as we go ahead and get into, different presentations going further, especially based off, the way you guys feel about it, we're going to see that, what we consider to be ice and cold and, basically the Arctic is not natural. And we are natural by law, right? So, that's exactly how we like to keep it, natural. Alright, so I just wanted to paint that, the fact that they're mentioning that these ancestors of the modern Native Americans came through this ice cap, alright, that was connected from Siberia. So basically they made it from Siberia to present-day Alaska through this ice age. And as we can see, that there's this ice sheet, right? And, I know people like to say, oh, there was no ice cap and there was no this and that. But, I'm pretty sure that there was, because when we talk about these lands that they want to call the Americas, we're really talking about, in the same breath, in the same notion, in the same sentence, right? What they also want to call or refer to as Atlantis. And I'm not going to get caught up in the labels and the tags, because it keeps people in a box, right? And it creates the controversy. But I'm using them as a form of identification so that we generally know what we're all talking about as we're going over this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue. Now, I just wanted to deal with this segment right here, and I wanted to touch on the pre-Columbian era tab, and it's, it basically says the pre-Columbia era incorporates all period subdivision in history and prehistory of the Americas before the appearance of significant European influence on the American continents. All right, and I'm gonna skip down, and I wanted to highlight this part. Starting at Native American cultures are not normally included in characterizations of advanced Stone Age cultures as Neolithic, which is a category that more often includes only the cultures in Eurasia, Africa, and other regions. Now, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, when I first came across this topic in different, drops that I've previously posted, I was in a different frame of mind. But when I read this, I started to see a broader picture that in later lessons we'll go ahead and uncover. But I started to see that this Neolithic, right, that, they're basically trying to drop a major clue, that I picked up on, and they're basically stating or showing a distinction within cultures that are a phenomenon, that are a mystery to them. So because these things are a mystery to them, a sort of an enigma, right, they had to come up with a theory. Right? They got to come up with a theory or a hypothesis that they all uphold and agree upon to basically pass as fact, or their version of truth and reality, which is why they're recognized and they go down in history, as recorded. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, right? But yeah, as you guys see, we'll go ahead and continue. So yeah, like I wanted to mention, right, we're dealing with Neolithic. So as you can see, when I thought of Neolithic, right, of course, I thought of, the Tamoan Khan, right? AKA, the G people, right? The Ome, right? And I was digging on this Kabata head, right? Kabata head. And, this Kabata head was 11 feet tall, right? 11 feet tall. And it weighed about 40 tons, right? It weighed about 40 tons. Massive sculpture, right? Making it basically the biggest one of, the heads that there are. And the La Kabota, I hope I'm saying that right, Kabota, or however I said it the first time, sorry. This region, this location, this area was the source of the basalt used for carving all of the colossal heads in the Olmec heartland. All right, so this is what they specialize in, and this area where this head is the source. All right, this is where they did all of the carving at. Basically, it was what supplied, their whole architecture. So when we see right here, according to them, it says that the Native Americans are not normally included in characterizations of advanced Stone Age cultures. Advanced Stone Age cultures. So we're not talking about just any typical Stone Age, right? We're talking about the advanced Stone Age cultures that they call Neolithic, and we're going to go ahead and break that down. All right? So let's get to it. Here we have what is considered the Neolithic, right? Which means, in their terminology, the new Stone Age, right? Because they're doing it based off time, right? So I'm going to stick with their dates because they want to measure these things according to the timeline that they have, all right? And then we're going to go ahead and compare based off what is presented and show you the oops in the loop, right? So if you look right here, this is the origin. And you know, they say from at least 10,200 BC, this is when the so-called Neolithic era was popping off, right? All across these marks. So just let that soak in. We're going to continue. We're going to go on to the next part. Alright, so as you can see, we're still on the same page. And, you know, we're under the Americas tab, under the same page, right? And I want to highlight, you know, what they want to point out in the Mesoamerica area. And keep in mind how Australia is right up under it. We're not going to really touch this today, but I definitely got another drop for you guys, so, you know, much ado. And we're going to keep it rolling if, you know, if possible. And all praises to the Most High, we're going to do what we can. So as we dig on the Americas for now in this drop, in this presentation, right, it says in Mesoamerica, a similar set of events occurred by around 4,500 BC, but possibly as early as 11,000 to 10,000 BC. These cultures are usually not referred to as belonging to the Neolithic in America. Different terms are used, such as formative stage instead of the mid-late Neolithic, Archaic era instead of early Neolithic, and Paleo-Indian for the preceding period. The formative stage is equivalent to the Neolithic Revolution period in Europe, Asia, and Africa. So they basically go ahead and tell you that they don't use terms like Neolithic, but the same exact process was happening in, you know, in the Americas. And there's a reason why they don't use those terms, because there's a different sophistication when it comes to the architecture and the development of the building when it comes to these people who were doing so. And as you'll see, as they go ahead and unfold to you, they, by terminology that they select, it's obvious that you can't get these societies and these cultures from the type of people that they're trying to identify as the Native American, which is the people who are upheld by the theory, right, and the hypothesis, right? So as we deal with those, right, we'll see that as they said, that Native Americans, right, Native American cultures are not normally included in the characterizations of advanced Stone Age, right? And when we're talking about basically the heart, which was the heart of so-called the autochthon civilization of what they refer to as the Americas, which is what I'm telling you is intact, or the intact part of Atlantis still, you know, here, which is why they come up with these theories and hypotheses, and they agree to them in secrecy to keep you out of the loop, because they don't want you in remembrance to really uncover these things, right? But this is basically what we're digging on. So yeah, as we see these heads, right, of the Omega, the She people of the Tamoan Khan, right, are of what? Advanced Stone Age, right? Of the Advanced Stone Age. Nonetheless, which they're saying that the Native Americans that crossed through via land bridge, right, from Siberia, are not what? Normally included in these type of cultures. So obviously there's a distinction, and that's all I'm trying to highlight is the distinction. That's it. And we can agree upon these things because it's obviously being stated. Maybe not in the manner that I'm connecting it because I'm the one connecting it, but that's basically what's being stated and I'm catching it. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Much ahab. As we can see in the Americas, right? Oh man, we're digging around at least 4,500 BC. Now keep in mind, I said I wanted to use these numbers, all right? And you'll see why. Now they're saying at least around 4,500 BC, but as early as 11,000 to 10,000 BC, that this Neolithic advanced Stone Age process was taking place in the Americas. All right, that's what we're digging on right here. Matter of fact, I just want to get that so those viewing get exactly what we're highlighting. And again, we're digging on the Neolithic version. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward. Now, of course, here we have Watson break. This is not the first time it's been mentioned, so I'm not trying to really dig on it too much. I just want to go ahead and put the 1-2 punch in and highlight some things as, we basically break into this, this new fresh breath of air, right there. Right. So as we get into that whole wow, that fresh breath of air, we continue to dig. I just want to highlight things from a more scientific perspective. You know what I mean? A more explainable approach. So we're dealing with the Watson break, and they're saying that it's an archaeological site in present-day Ouachita Parish, Louisiana, from the Archaic period. Now remember, they're not going to say that it was a Neolithic, which is the Advanced Stone Age, right? The Advanced Stone Age. Sorry, that's the wrong one. The Advanced Stone Age, right? They're not going to refer to it as the Advanced Stone Age. They give it different titles, according to them, right? Nonetheless, we're still paying attention to the fact that in the Archaic period, there's still this Advanced Stone Age going down. So, obviously, typical Native American cultures weren't associated with these type of cultures, which is why they're not associated to the more popular Hollywood versions of your version of the indigenous, the autochthon, the original, aboriginal American. Alright. Now it's saying that this site here is dated to about 5,400 years ago, approximately 3,500 BCE. Watson Break is considered the oldest earthwork mound complex in North America. It is older than the Egyptian pyramids or England Stonehenge. It is older. Alright, according to their records. Now, that can be for debate in the comment section. Nonetheless, to me, the point is that they're making it of the same age, or like they're saying older. We're saying even older. So the fact that this is older, how can what they want to refer to as the those that made the journey through the ice, right? Those who made the journey through the ice around the same timeline, how can they be the ones to go ahead and create such a civilization in such a fast time, when around the same timing they were crossing through the ice? Alright, which is why I told you to pay attention to the timelines and the numbers that they were giving us, because obviously you can see they're not talking about the same people. But of course you know this, so I'm not trying to be elementary, but I just needed to point this out. Keep in mind, right, pay attention to the image. Blow it up real quick. Give it a sec. Again, this is, one of the many reasons why, I haven't been able to. There we go. So, just keep this image in mind, and we're going to go ahead and continue and get on to the next one. Now, digging on Watson break, it says right here, I have to point out that the archaeologists revisited their date of the oldest earthwork mound construction by nearly 2,000 years, as well as having to recognize that it was developed over centuries by a hunter-gatherer society. Developed over centuries by a hunter-gatherer society. I want you guys to keep this in mind, because they said that it's older than the Egyptian pyramids, yet over centuries, hundreds and hundreds of years, a hunter-gatherer society built it. Alright, Shalom. And this is exactly why I'm opening this presentation, because this right here is the joke. And the joke to me is unnatural, and I have to eradicate that which is unnatural, because this time around we want all the smoke. So they're saying that a hunter-gatherer society are the ones responsible for the development of the Watson Break site, right, which is the oldest earthwork mound. So we're gonna go ahead and get on to the next one. Let's go. Alright, so now we got the Penzance Mounds. Penzance Mounds comprise a prehistoric Native American complex located in Madison County, Tennessee, in a region that is known as the Eastern Woodlands. This complex, which includes 17 mounds, an earthen geometric enclosure, and numerous habitation areas, was most likely built during the Middle Woodland period. It says the complex is the largest group of Middle Woodland mounds in the said United States, right? And they also call it Saul's Mound, right? Or Saul's Mound, right? Saul, right? So, I just wanted to highlight that, because if you don't know what to check out, the Levitical cities that's on this channel, basically, I go into depth about the connection to Tennessee and what I know that I have, and maybe some of you have as well. I know there has been, a couple of people, I'm going to just say, that have felt the connection that was presented in those drops. So go back and check them out, the Levitical cities, and then to gain a more broader perspective and a grip of things, especially dealing with the Tennessee area. But if you don't know by now, you should know. We're talking about the Aniawea, right? The Cherokee, right? That's right, the Chickamauga. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what we really, dropping on. So, yeah, this is basically, the region right here. So, the fact that you're talking about, Native American cultures, right, are not normally included in the characterizations of advanced Stone Age cultures. Yet, we have Watson Break and the mounds similar to those. Right. Let's see. Good dig on it. Not we'll skip that. We'll come back to it. It'll pop up. But yeah, that's basically what we want to highlight, because they're saying that hunters and gatherers are responsible for these geometric enclosures, right? And I'm here to state the opposite, because when we're talking about mounds and when we're talking about these different structures that, you know, predate so-called Egyptian monuments, we're talking about a civilization that was specializing in high science. All right, and shout out to, you know, my bros that helped me get to this direction to where we're at now. But that's basically, like I said, I want to try to come at it from a more pure scientific method, because I start to see it within the things, the metaphysics within things. You know what I'm saying? So much aloha to the tribe, man. You know, we're going to go ahead and continue. And just remember what I said, right? I wanted you to keep in mind this image. All right? Because, like I said, we're talking about the Americas are, you know, basically not being what they call the so-called Americas, but this is really, you know, the remnant of so-said Atlantis. And I'm saying that the ones who came through the ice cap were the survivors from the last cataclysm, no doubt, but of a different kind, you know what I'm saying? From the war that took place. This was a war that took place, which is why cataclysm had to happen, right? It was a war that broke out. And these survivors from, you know, this area like Mu and Lemuria, right? Lemuria, that made it here. And these genetics have been proven. This channel has proven the genetics between those of the Lemur people in Lemuria, but we're not going to dive into that. I just want you guys to pay attention, because yeah, we're talking about Atlantis being America. America is Atlantis. There's really no difference. And we're going to go ahead and dive into it like that. So let's get into the next tab. Alright, so here we have Atlantis in images, right? And for a mythological place, for a spot that's supposed to be deemed as imaginary, I mean, the depictions that they have painted out is pretty crazy, no doubt, nonetheless. Right. As we can see now, look, trip off that, right? I'm gonna take you to Watson Break, right? Look at this. And again, we're talking about Atlantis, right? We're talking about high science. We're talking about high civilization, right? That is basically a marvel to the present, to the modern age, right? These times are a mystery to them, but that's not all. We're gonna go ahead and dig on, you know, some more comparisons. Hope everybody's doing all right. Manchaha, Shalom. We just vibing. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? When we get to images like this, right? That's exactly what we're talking about. Right? I mean, let's see, let's get out of this. Alright. Hold on. Let's go to, you know what? I'm gonna bring it up for y'all. We're just gonna get into it just like that. Alright, so look, we're gonna look at some more images, right? And as you can see, they're calling it the mysterious. What did I say, right? They're gonna call it mysterious because they're talking about you, right? They're gonna call it lost, right? Because they're talking about you, right? No subject more fascinating. So digging on topic, right? Of course, it's going to be a mystery. You're always going to be a mystery to them. right? Let's see that. Now let this, set in your mental. There's other ones like this, right? Or even this one, Poverty Point. Check out Poverty Point, right? Magnificent, beautiful, right? Aerial view, up top, mentally, right? For all those that rock with the zodiac signs, right? Dig on it. So again, we're talking about what? Atlantis. Atlantis. Why? Why you say? Because when we dig on the tab, this is what we're getting. Nonetheless, you see it in the search bar. Ain't nothing hidden. We're giving you exactly, what we're digging on in real time. Shalom to the Shabbatai. We're just, yeah. Y'all see it. I'm going to click on it with you. Bang. Give or take the water. But it would make sense if water was there. It would make sense. I'm not going to say whether water was there, whether it wasn't. But obviously, we can see the inspiration. And the inspiration is still intact. Right? We're still talking about you. Right? We're still talking about you. Still talking about you. Because they said that Native American cultures are not normally included in the characterizations of advanced Stone Age cultures. And when we're talking about Atlantis, we're talking about high civilization. Advance. Right? A hunter-gathering group is not going to develop something advanced. Alright? It's just not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. And I'm going to show you why, because of what their definition of the term is. Yeah, we didn't come to mess around. So, let's dive right into it. Just wanted you guys to see, the connection. Because we're talking about Atlantis. We're talking about you. We're talking about the copper-colored races. We're talking about the misnomer, the marginalized, right? We're talking about those classified, aka African American. Let's go. Alright, so here we have hunter and gatherer. Right? Hunter and gatherer. Because when we were dealing on the Watson break, they said that the hunter and gatherer society or civilization is the one that developed that site. Let's get it again. Testing, 1, 2. Just gotta make sure that we're doing good. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying, right? They said that a hunter and gatherer society is what basically developed the Watson break. And as we dig on a hunter and gatherer, this is what we get. Right? It says a member of a nomadic people who live chiefly by hunting and fishing and harvesting wild food. Alright, so they're saying that these are the folks that brought you this advanced Stone Age here in the so-called Americas, that brought you the monuments that resemble Atlantis. Alright, this is what they're saying, which is why I find the joke to be unnatural, which is why I'm doing this. Alright, because when they're talking about the hunter and gatherer, who they're really talking about. Here they give you this image, right? So let's go to images. Right, they want to show you stuff like this. This is what they're talking about, right? This is what they want to plug into your mind as the so-called hunter and gatherer. Crazy, right? It's like, yo, no chill. No chill. Right? But then you get these folk as well as hunter and gatherer. So, you know, here we have a problem. Because we know for sure this is not who they mean when they talk about hunter-gatherer society, building these complexes. We know for sure this is not who they're talking about. Right? Yet, when we look at the term, the only people that they can relate to in real time are these folk. Right? I mean, as we see for ourselves. As we see for ourselves. Right, hunter and gatherer. So they're saying that the hunter and gatherer is what developed this Atlantis-like society. It's not gonna fly with me because I know in these other images, you know, the ones that they can't get to in real time, like these, this is what they really mean, right? Hunter and gatherer. This is what they really mean. And this is how they try to intertwine the histories. Right? See, it's those folks that came through the land bridge. Right? These guys. The land bridge. Through the ice. But you still have people you know, who resemble the previous, right? Who resemble the previous and still do. Even though they're not the originals either. You know, the ones who were completely eradicated, the ones who have been completely removed, they now label extinct, the Tasmanians. Never forget. But we're just using references according to them. So here we have a complete misunderstanding and, you know, misinterpretations on purpose due to the agreement of what the theory, if it'll pop up for us, you know, the theory, right, and the hypothesis. The theory and the hypothesis, right, that uphold the settlements of the Americas, right, by the so-called said natives who came across the ice land bridge. But they're a hunter-gatherer society. Alright? But we know these folks don't do well in ice, and we know people that look like them don't do well in ice. Alright? We're going to go ahead and go on to the next one. Alright, so here we have the definition of caveman, right? A prehistoric man who lives in caves. Synonyms would be cave dweller and troglodyte. You already know how we do on this channel, but you know, I'm not going to try to be crude, right? I'm just going to sit back and use the words for what they are, as we can see up on the screen. And I'm pretty sure this is exactly the man that they have in mind when they mean so-called hunter and gatherer, right? And you know, let's look at the images for the same definition, and bang, right? First one that pops up. Caveman, right? Caveman, aka a hunter and gatherer. That's not who we're looking at right here. I'm pretty sure that's not who that guy is. I'm pretty sure that's not who they are. So, you know, somebody want to tell me what the fuck is going on? It's not happening, Jack. It's not happening. Prehistoric man, but we already know that the caveman is not prehistoric. The caveman is recent. The caveman is new. Especially when we're coming into this so-called man timeline. And that's not to throw no salt, it's just to keep it in perspective. Alright, this version of caveman, this version of man is recent. There's nothing prehistoric about this man. Alright? Like, they're saying this is your hunter and gatherer. The man in America, alright? But that's not you. Alright, because we're going to dig on the term. And what term is that? A talk term. Which is what? An original or indigenous inhabitant of a place, an aborigine. Right? An original indigenous inhabitant. So when we're digging on hunter and gatherers and we get this group, right? They look like the aborigine, right? They look like the original indigenous inhabitant of that place, right? And when we're digging on the breakdown and the etymology, it means to be sprung from the earth itself. Sprung from the earth. Self-sprung from the earth. Self-sprung, automatically from the soil, within the soil. Connected in a spiritual, metaphysical, scientific sense. That the ancients used to call alchemy, you know what I mean? But we're not going to dig into that right now. But I'm just trying to paint the essence in words when we're talking about original, when we're talking about indigenous, we're talking about autochtons. Right? Those that self-sprung from the earth. And when we're talking about hunter and gatherers, the aborigines, the originals, the indigenous, don't they look like the very earth that's beneath them? I mean, homie right here got the beard, right? That's synonymous with the tweeds and the sticks that are growing out of the ground. He is synonymous with the land that he's in. You don't get this and then automatically jump into this. Alright? Ain't no evolution theory. Ain't no evolutionary hypothesis. That's not fact, that's not truth. Those are the greed theories that are put in place to keep you in check. To keep you in check. We need to come to an agreement over serious lessons about what it is that is our story. Our mystery. Or my story. Shout out to the tribe. To everybody dropping the drop. Keeping the flow flowing. Hunter-gatherer society. Alright, but we're talking about a hunter-gatherer society developing a high scientific civilization such as Atlantis that has been proven, as I'm showing you, to look exactly like this. Digging on the connections, which is why they uphold the theory and the hypothesis, right? So that they remain federally recognized. So that this is the truth in their reality, in their paradigm. But we come to wreck that shit because we want all the smoke. Right? We're talking about advanced Stone Age cultures. Advanced Stone Age cultures. Right? That they said that Native American culturally on the norm aren't being associated with through characterization. So ain't no mixing it up. They're telling you there's two different distinct peoples. So when we're dealing with the Autochton, right? And when we're checking out the hunter and gatherer, and this is what we're getting, we can see the difference between the so-called caveman that they want to deem prehistoric, even though we know he's not prehistoric. He's new, he's recent. And they want to say this is the people who brought up these civilizations that mirror Atlantis. The joke is unnatural, and I do not approve. And by law, the creators say that you are natural because you are what? Self-sprung from the earth, from the soil. You are the original indigenous inhabitant. We're going to continue. Shalom, shalom. Appreciate all the vibes. Next tab we're digging on is the mound builders, right? And it's saying that the various cultures collectively termed mound builders were inhabitants of North America who during a circa 5,000 year period constructed various styles of earthen mounds for religious, ceremonial, burial, and elite residential purposes. Now, I just want to, sorry, wrong one. Just want to highlight that, right? The mound builders constructed various styles for constructed various styles of earthen mounds for religious, ceremonial, burial, and elite residential purposes. But they want to call religious, right? But how does this group do that? Right? How does the definition of this hunter and gatherer do that? And how come in real time when we look up hunter and gatherer, these are the people we get? Right? We get people like this. Alright? As far as hunter and gatherers go. So, when we're talking about mound builders, right? It will only make sense that the Autochton, those being self-sprung from the earth, would have a connection to the earth to go ahead and develop these mounds, right? And the fact that the Aborigine, which is of the autochthon, right, look the way that they look, which would be of the earth, it would only make that much more sense as to why they would develop these mounds in such an earthen fashion that these European invaders, right, these colonists, these squatters, would deem religious and ceremonial, and even for elite residential purposes. Now, why would somebody of this stature, prehistoric, a cave dweller, troglodyte, someone who's uncivilized, build a civilization? Right? The men in America, they're telling you this is the men of America, but yet when we look at it according to him, the prehistoric man, he's uncivilized, right? He's building civilizations that are equal to Atlantis, and they're saying that this right here is what they found and this looks exactly the same. Stop it. But we know the autochthon, right, that have self-sprung from the earth, right, the Aborigine, right, the original, looks like the earth, right, would have a direct connection to want to go ahead and build these things, right? Furthermore, it says the namesake cultural trait of the mound builders was the building of mounds and other earthworks. These burial and ceremonial structures were typically flat-top pyramids or platform mounds, flat-top or round cones, elongated ridges, and sometimes a variety of other forms. The woodland culture, right? Woodland culture. The woodland culture, which is exactly what these mounds were, right? See? Woodland period. No doubt, right? And we're talking about the Cherokee, right? Hunter and gatherer group. Right, but when we dig on hunter and gatherer, this is what we're coming up with. And apparently that's all across the globe. Alright. But it's just supposed to stop here. It's supposed to stop here. All of a sudden, they're in the same conversation. Let's stop it. Alright, so why would hunter and gatherer society build something that's sophisticated, that mimics and rivals that of said so Atlantis? And we're going to continue. Let's get on to the next tab. Shalom. Alright, so I'm going to bring up this next article, and I'm going to dive into it a little bit more, but unfortunately the way it's reacting, to the laptop that I'm on, I'm not going to be able to actually carry out that function like I want to. Much ahab, and my apologies. It's just what I'm working with is limited. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to leave a link down below in the description box for anyone that wishes to go ahead and add to whatever they can. Not say that I need it, but to go ahead and continue to provide these services, and to stay with the upkeep, as much dedicated time and energy and effort, as well as just my mental being into these projects, so we can go ahead and just replace this laptop that I do have. I call myself getting another one, and I thought that one was rocking with us, and unfortunately it didn't pan out, which is why I'm on this one. But I felt like this drop was just too strong to pass up. But anyways, we have the Maya controversy, right? Startlingly new evidence for and antediluvian people who influenced the world. Antediluvian people, right? Antediluvian people, which is pre-cataclysm, pre-flood, the antediluvian people, those who made it through. All right, and we're only talking about, a specific kind of people, which is why when we go and dig on hunter and gatherer, we only find that one type, right? And as you can see, the process and the and the speed of the loading of my laptop is obvious. It's more than obvious, but nonetheless, yeah. Alright, so they're saying that they have evidence that the Mayans, in this article, so-called Quiche, right? They were an antediluvian people, those that made it past the deluge. Alright, and we got more information coming on that in further presentations. Please, much aloha for the tribe. If you definitely want me to keep rocking, just let me know. I know I always say that. But, it's just a big inspiration. Let me know you guys want me to continue these things, and I'm not out here just, wasting the Most High's precious breath. Nonetheless, much aloha to the real wave surfers, and, to everyone that's just been down from the jump. The righteous seeders, and to all the wave surfers. So, dig on this article if you can. It's right here. It's been here. The link has been here. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and dig on it. I can't really the way I want to. It's going to crack the computer. I'm not trying to crash it right now in this presentation. So we're going to go ahead and continue on to the next one. Here we have the Beringia, right, which is of course what we were discussing earlier, the ice landmass. And without too much, wasting too much time on it, we're just gonna say, we're gonna pick out what we can, right? It says during the Ice Age, Beringia, like most of Siberia, I'm sorry, not this one. It says it is believed that a small human population of at most a few thousand arrived in Beringia from eastern Siberia during the last glacial maximum before the expanding into the settlement of the Americas sometime after 16,500 years. Now remember what I said, right? I wanted you to pay attention to the numbers, the chronological order that they want to place these things in. Whether they're accurate or not, it's not really my point. I'm just trying to have you guys pay attention to it. Alright, because we're going to use this basically against them. I'm not saying that it's without a doubt that they have genetic evidence that these people crossed through. But before that, they got to the so-called Americas, right? Because they were stuck in this ice, without a doubt. Yeah, that they were in Siberia. Alright, they were in Siberia. Now, we're not trying to take credit away. We're not trying to say these folks weren't here. It's obvious that they were here. We're just saying when we're dealing on the terms so-called native, right, so-called original, you immigrating here from an entirely different continent does not make you native. If that's the case, anybody born on this soil makes them native. Alright, and it's proven that us being of the melanated pigmentation, the carbon race, we've been over this entire plane since the stretch, since the beginning. There is no separation between us and this plane, this earth. Right? Because we are the autochton, the self sprung from it. And that's all across the map. So as we dig on the human habitation, right, it says the Bering Land Bridge is a postulated route. What is postulated route? Let's dig on the word. Y'all can see it. This is why I've been away so long. Much hype to everybody that's been waiting on the drop. This drop has been asked for a while now. It took some time because I wanted to get all the proper resources correct. I want to get all of my connections correct for this presentation to bring it to you. So much hype for your patience, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and continue to dig. So we're looking at postulate, right? Postulate is to suggest or assume the existence, fact, or truth of something as a basis for reasoning, discussion, or belief. Is to suggest or assume the existence, fact, or truth of something. Alright, it's to assume. It's to assume. So, as we read, it says the Bering Land Bridge is a assumed route of human migration to the Americas from Asia about 20,000 years ago. An open corridor through the ice-covered North American Arctic was too barren to support human migrations before 12,600 years before present. Corridor. What is a corridor? Alright, so let's dig on corridor. Corridor is a long passage in a building from which door just leads into rooms. And when we were digging on this tab from earlier, as it loads, it said ice-free corridor, right? This red line. So let's get some examples of this corridor, right? And we dig into the images. Bang, we get what looks like a hallway. Corridors, right? So this is a well-developed tunneling of some sort, right? And they're saying that basically they were able to get through it after a certain point. So maybe after the snow melted, which proves that as the snow was melting, as the sun was starting to heat back up, right, the ice started to melt. Sort of similar to what they're calling right now global warming, right? This global warming thing that they want to blame on human habitation. And their theory to global warming is that there are too many people on the planet that are giving off gases and natural exhausts that are, you know, basically causing the atmosphere to thin out and the planet to be more exposed to the rays of the so-called sun, right? But if you're a autochthon, right, then you're from the soil, so the sun doesn't get you, it doesn't bother you, right? But obviously there's something going on because a corridor was provided for them to cross through this ice, which is why I'm stating the fact that they were survivors from, you know, this war that broke out, which led to the cataclysm that brought upon the Ice Age, right? And they say that even the American lion was here, right? Because the American lion crossed over, to Asia from Asia. They even say that the camel was here, and the camel was indigenous, right? The camel was an autochthon to America that crossed over into Asia and later Africa. Alright, so we know that this so-called ice age happened. We know that the animals were frozen in tundra out of nowhere. But they try to say that this was just some evolutionary process that happened over time. Nah. We're talking about the result of a war that took place and as a result of that war, cataclysms had to happen. The deluge was brought upon us. Alright, we're going to go ahead and continue on. Because they said that, you know, basically these folks were in Siberia, right? So, you know, we just want to go ahead and bring it up one time as it load. Much ahab to Shabbat. I hope much peace and joy is upon you guys as, you know, we are connected once again. So, you know, here we have Siberia in the etymology, right? A region in northwestern Asia, right? An ancient Tartar fortress. And basically is as a typical place of miserable banishment. Miserable banishment. Miserable banishment. Alright? Siberia is a place of miserable banishment. We're talking about tundra, ice, snow. I mean, I've broken this down. Surf the channel if you haven't. You know what I mean? I don't care if you gotta dedicate an entire week. Surf the channel. Get the drop. Dissect it for yourself. But we've touched on this before. Alright? They were in the very name of this spot means miserable banishment. And when we digging on the Eskimos, the Inuits, right, the people of Alaska, they're adapted to that type of treatment. And when we're talking about the genetics, they are linked to those of Lemuria, the lemur people. Alright? So we're going to go ahead and keep pushing because we don't want to take up too much time. So let's get it. Alright, so here we have in the next tab, right, from Science Daily, says new evidence puts man in North America 50,000 years ago, right? Sources from University of South Carolina as of November 18, 2004. Says radiocarbon tests of carbonized plants remains where artifacts were unearthed last May along the Savannah River in Allendale County by University of South Carolina archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear indicate that the sediments containing these artifacts are at least 50,000 years old, meaning that humans inhabited before the last ice age. Alright. And that's important because as we've been digging, right, throughout this entire presentation, it's the agreed theory, right, or hypothesis that the ancestor of modern Native Americans got here by the last ice age, right? And that's what we've been talking about this entire time, right? And it's in this theory and in this hypothesis, right, that is the basis, that is the core to our so-said educational system, right? Our so-called educational system. So, he's saying that basically he's found proof, right, that against the common theory, against the common hypothesis that the man in America before the migration through the ice. It says the findings are significant because they suggest that humans inhabited North America well before the last ice age, more than 20,000 years ago. A potentially explosive revelation in American archaeology. Goodyear, who has garnered international attention for his discoveries of tools that predate what is believed to be humans' arrival in North America, announced the test results, which were done by the University of California at Irvine Laboratory. The dates could be actually older Goodyear says 50,000 years should be a minimum age since there may be little detectable activity left. He says the dawn of modern Homo sapiens occurred in Africa between 6. Alright, now that's the hijack, of course, right? And we know that's the hijack. But he's saying that evidence of modern man's migration out of the African continent has been documented in Australia and Central Asia at least 50,000 and 40,000 years, right? The fact that humans could have been in North America at or near the same time is expected to spark debate among archaeologists worldwide, raising new questions on the origin and migration of the human species. It says that Topper is the oldest radiocarbon dated site in North America. Alright, now, keep in mind when they're digging on this, when they're talking about this out of Africa stuff, they're only talking about you. Because when we were digging on the hunter and gatherer, you remember what we got. So just keep that in mind. Alright? And that's without a doubt. So I wanted to show you guys that. We're going to go ahead and keep it going. We're going to jump into the next one. So let's get it. Alright, so here we have the Topper site. And the Topper site is an archaeological site located along the Savannah River in Allendale County, South Carolina, so the United States, right? Which is the exact same spot as that one guy they found, right? Whose DNA ended up attaching back to like something of 300,000 years. And through family historical research that I've provided in my documented series, The Levitical Cities, I've shown the Cherokee, the Aniawea attachment to, South Carolina. So go ahead and dig on that. Just go ahead and dig on that, on those drops in this channel. But it is saying that it is noted as a location of artifacts which some archaeologists believe to indicate human habitation of the New World, so-called New World, but we know this is the Old World, right? The Old World, earlier than the Clovis culture. The latter was previously believed to be the first people in North America. Alright? And they're saying that the dates go back to at least 50,000, right? And they used to think that maybe it was 16 to 20,000, but these come before that. So that's like 30,000 years difference. Which is why I told you to keep the numbers in mind, right? Because we're using their numbers, against them. Alright, so they thought that these so-called Clovis people were here first through the ice cap, and they're realizing there was an entirely different civilization, those who were specializing in building mounds. Why? Because they were of autochthon, right, descent. Right? They were autochthons. Right? Where is it at? Right here with it. Let it load. Right? They were autochthons, right? So naturally, they build mounds. Right? Much higher for the patience as it loads. Right? But they build mounds. Right? And we're pointing out that hunter-gatherer groups wouldn't do it for religious and ceremonial and elite residential purposes. Alright, and that's out of the Topper site. And everything is measured by radiocarbon dating, right? Which is really the measurement of the age of organic material, which is you. They're just studying the age of you. Really, the study of melanin. Because when we dig into carbon, right, right? It's saying that basically it's just what? That carbon is just coal, right? As your breakdown, I'm looking for it. Right. Give me a sec. Right here. I mean, I'm pretty sure I passed it beforehand, but we'll just dig on this, right? Coal is a combustible black or brownish black sedimentary rock. Alright. Coal. Alright. So we know coal is mostly carbon. So we're really just talking about you. Alright, so when they're talking about carbon dating, it's just a measuring of the organic material that basically consists of melanin or carbon, which is the only way you can really date organic material. So they're just studying you. Alright. And we slide into the next tab. It says Topper site in middle of comet controversy. Alright. So they're saying that a comet landed exactly where the civilization was. And every time you think of these ancient civilizations, they were happening in spots where, you know, high sciences were taking places. Alright, it says the mix. It says Firestone found concentrations of spirals of metals, which are micro-sized balls of metals, and nano-sized diamonds in a layer of sediment dating to about 12,000 to 900 years ago at 10 of the 12 archaeological sites that his team examined. It says the mixed particles is thought to be the result of an extraterrestrial object such as a comet or meteorite exploding in the Earth's atmosphere. It says among the sites examined was USC's Topper, one of the most pristine U.S. sites for research on Clovis, one of the earliest ancient peoples. Alright, and when you dig on the comet, you know what I'm saying, so-called meteorite really looks like that. Right? No doubt. No doubt. Right? And we're really just talking about carbon. Right? We're really just talking about carbon, which is you. Meteorites, so-called comets, look just like that, right? And look at this diamond. So when you think about you, when you're actually perfected, you become that diamond through pressure. And they said that, you know, the mystery schools are now closed. You know what I'm saying? Our initiation is in the struggle. Our spiritual initiation is through our struggle. To be diamonds. Crystallized. Alright? So yeah, they're saying that, you know, this Topper site where they're finding artifacts that, you know, the autochthon was here on this side of the map as early as so-called 50,000 years, and that's just at the earliest. In distinction from the Iceland bridge, right? And to be, you know, proof of that next tab, right? It says, why is sea level rising faster in some places along the U.S. East Coast than others? That water's rising up faster over here than others, right? according to them. And they're calling it what? Like I said, it was a phenomenon. They call it a phenomenon, right? And they saying that it's a post-glacial rebound, which they are saying that is brought on by global warming. And we all know what global warming is. It's just the returning of that sun, that second sun. You know what I'm saying? As we get ready to heat up and get back to that alkaline level, that natural level, where ice wasn't so natural. And what we call the sun was more prevalent upon the planet, right? Which is why when we dig on hunter and gatherers, right, all we get is people that really look like this, right? When it load up, bang. So it's just the returning of that, and that's what they're tripping off of. And it's evident that, you know, it's happening. And it's freaking them out because, like I'm telling you, this is the remnant of Atlantis, right? And further presentations are going to be documenting the evidence of said so statements. So we're going to go ahead and get into the next few tabs and close out. Much ado. Alright. Sorry about that. I wanted to go ahead and dig into this article a little bit further, but as you can tell, my laptop is full of complications, so we just going to go ahead and ride out. As we can call it, the last tribe of Clover Hollow. Oldest civilization in the world, found in Appalachian Mountains. Shout out to the bro Caramel. He didn't held it down when it came to these Appalachian Mountains. Y'all know for a while I've been digging on these mountains. He was able to bring out, you know, basically the fact that they're one of the oldest, if not the oldest, mountain ranges in the world. Bro Teach was able to, you know, bring that out as well. So it goes without a doubt, if you guys haven't checked those two drops out, go ahead and just check to finish this off the right way. But at the bottom, if you was to go ahead and I guess catch the read for yourself, you will see that as you get to the bottom, I'll leave the link, you know, to it in the description. But you'll basically see that this was the land of the Aniawea, the sacred land of the Aniawea, aka what you know today as the Cherokee. The original, right, the autochthone, right, we can never forget where we started from, right? The 1828 Webster's version. And the autochthone, right? The real American, the original, which happens to be the Native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper color races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Right, when we were digging on the autochthone, right? We were talking about those who were what? Self-sprung from the earth, right? As we wait for it to load up. Much ado for all the patience, and I'm gonna make sure to leave that link so y'all can, y'all see it yourself. I shouldn't even done it, you know what I mean? Because it's obviously struggling. But yeah, if y'all kind enough to go ahead and donate some pennies, man, so we can go ahead and get some new software. You know what I'm saying? Because it's struggling on us. Look at it. It's struggling on us. Oh man. Oh man. Without a doubt, without a doubt. So we just gonna go ahead and leave it right here, if that's alright with the Shabbat. You know what I'm saying? And we got the examples of the talked on, and we was able to see basically the point we was making with that. Appreciate everybody that's been supportive, and everyone that's just basically out to the bro, Isaac Ford. You know what I mean? And shout out to everybody, to all the bros. You know what I mean? To all the sisters out there trying to keep us afloat. Shout out to everybody that's been reaching out, whether it's through email, social media, whatever. I'm going to get back on it ASAP. As soon as we done right here wrapping it up, we'll be back with y'all. All right? So appreciate the energy. Like I said, I had more to go into, but y'all saw what y'all saw, and you know what I mean? We're working on getting us some more material so we can go ahead. But until next time, much hob, and I hope you guys appreciated the presentation. And Shalom, we're gonna go ahead and ride out. It's skitsing. Peace.